Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep?
Always. What are we exploring today?
Well, we're tackling a text that claims to hold the secrets to aligning with, get this, divine action.
Divine action. Okay, sounds intense.
It kind of is, but also, the more I read, the more I realize you don't have to be religious to get something from it.
I'm intrigued already.
So are you ready to unpack how this divine action thing works?
Yeah.
And maybe even figure out how we can tap into that power?
Let's do it.
All right, so this text, it's really direct, doesn't waste any time. Right out of the gate, it hits us with this metaphor, a divine idea, like a blueprint, existing before anything even exists.
Well, a blueprint. I like that. So it's suggesting there's an actual plan, a design behind everything.
Exactly, and not just some vague higher power. It's saying there's a structure.
Interesting. And this idea of a pre-existing blueprint, it's not unique to this text. You see echoes of it across cultures and history. Plato's forms, for example, those perfect, eternal versions of everything.
Right, like archetypes in mythology. Those recurring stories and figures that seem to point to some deeper truth.
Exactly. It's like there's this underlying structure to existence, and here's the kicker, we're all part of it.
That's a pretty powerful concept to get your head around.
It really is. And the text takes it even further, suggesting this divine blueprint isn't just out there in the cosmos. It says we each have a likeness to it inside of us, ready to be awakened.
Wow, okay. That's kind of mind-blowing. Like, we have this potential just waiting to be unleashed.
Exactly. Like a seed waiting for the right conditions to grow.
So then what does it even look like to discover that likeness within ourselves? Is it about acquiring knowledge, studying more?
Well, there's a line in this text that really made me pause. It says, should you know all those things that are not for you, such knowledge would be no guide to you in any way.
Whoa. Okay, that's a reality check. So it's not just about gathering information, it's about seeking the right kind of knowledge.
Precisely. Knowledge that actually guides us on our journey. It begs the question, why are we seeking this information in the first place? How will it help us connect with that divine spark within?
That's a really good question. And maybe the answer isn't as simple as we might think. Okay, so we're talking about seeking the right kind of knowledge, but there's this other part of the text, and it's like, whoa, curveball.
Oh, tell me more. What's the curveball?
Well, it basically says that intellect and effort, like all the stuff we usually think we need, it's not enough to connect with the divine.
Huh. Interesting. It's almost like the text is challenging our usual way of thinking. Like, what if there's more to it than just figuring it out?
Right. Like maybe we can't just force our way to this connection.
It's a radical notion, isn't it? Especially these days with so much emphasis on achieving and striving. But this text, it's hinting at a different path, a path that requires a certain degree of surrender.
Surrender. Whoa. Okay. Now I'm really listening. So what does that even look like in this context? How do you surrender to something you can't even fully grasp?
Right. Well, the text uses these really vivid metaphors to try and explain it, like becoming metal in a mold.
Metal in a mold. Okay. I'm picturing it.
Or a canvas under the pencil, or even stone in the hands of the sculptor. It's not about forcing our will on things, but allowing ourselves to be shaped by something bigger than us.
Wow. That's actually really beautiful. It's like, instead of being the artist, we're the art.
Precisely. It's a total shift in perspective. Imagine, just for a second, that you're the clay in the potter's hands. Each push, each pull, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment, it's all part of shaping you into something beautiful and purposeful. The key, I think, is trusting the process, even when we don't understand it.
Man, that really hits home. Especially, when you're in those moments of trying to force things to happen, trying to control every outcome. What if, instead of all that striving, we just focused on becoming more receptive to what's meant for us?
It's a powerful idea, one that really challenges our need for control. This text, it seems to be saying that true power, real power, comes from surrender, from aligning ourselves with something greater than ourselves. It's less about dictating the terms and more about listening to the whispers of something bigger.
As we've been talking about surrender and all this, there's this one image from the text that keeps coming back to me. It talks about the divine word speaking within the heart.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful image.
It really is. And the text contrasts it with the confusion of words that we usually have going on in our minds.
It's like it's saying we already have the answers within us, we just have to tune in.
Exactly. It's like there's this inner wisdom, but we can only hear it when we quiet the noise of our own thoughts.
Absolutely. And what's interesting, the text is very clear about not comparing our journey to anyone else's. This connection, it's deeply personal.
Oh, totally. It's funny, have you ever had that experience where you just, knew something, even if it didn't make sense logically?
Like a gut feel. Oh, yeah, all the time.
Right. And then it turns out you were right, even if you couldn't explain why.
Exactly. Speaking of things that defy logic, there's this one phrase in the text. It's incredible. It says, divinized without its knowledge.
Divinized without its knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a head scratcher. What does that even mean?
Well, it seems to be saying that this transformation, this alignment with the divine, it's not something we can force. It's a byproduct of surrender, of letting go of control.
So, in a way, trying too hard is actually what's holding us back.
That's the paradox, isn't it? And it's not about being passive either. The text still emphasizes action, but it's a specific kind of action.
Okay, I'm listening. What kind of action?
It talks about the power of being present, fully engaged in whatever you're doing, as if it were the most important thing in the world.
It's like mindfulness, right? Being present in the moment.
Exactly. It's incredible how this ancient wisdom lines up with so much of what we hear today about mindfulness. The text even warns against getting caught up in historical wonders, like even dwelling on past successes can distract us from the present moment.
So it's about showing up fully present, right here, right now, not letting our minds drag us all over the place.
Yes. And I find it really powerful that the text ends with the image of the prodigal son returning home. It's like this reminder that what we're looking for, it might already be within us.
Wow. This has been quite the deep dive. And it makes you wonder if these principles apply to other parts of our lives too. Relationships, creativity, even our work. What if there's a blueprint for our own potential waiting to be discovered?
That's a beautiful thought. It's a journey, that's for sure.
It really is. And on that note, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll keep exploring these ideas with us. Until next time.